Hi friends, my name is Faye and you're watching Mystery Date with a Book. Stay. Sorry, you fell. You fell over. Okay. Today we're in my car and I've just noticed here in the viewer here on my phone, you can see my hair. Look, I did my hair. I never do my hair, but yeah, I did my hair. And you can't see it because it's not, the phone isn't sitting right. Anyway, here we go. Today I had this idea of casting booktubers into my favorite books. So I picked a list of my favorite books here in my bullet journal, and I'm going to cast some booktubers, big or small, I don't care, into these books. Now, I'm not doing this based on looks, because then, you know, I don't know, people might be upset because people have different views on what some characters look like and all that. I might do a different video based on looks, but for this one, it's just based on their personality and how they make me feel and things like that. So I have a whole pile of books here in my car and it feels so strange being in my car after so long. This car hasn't moved in about 5 weeks. I haven't left the house in 5 weeks. This is week 6, if we're being, you know, very loose with the word isolation. Anyway, I left the house once a week after my isolation period started, so technically it's 5 weeks, but anyway, the car has been sitting here for a very long time. It feels weird being in here, but I like it because it's a new environment. And yes, this is what we're dealing with now. Being happy just because you're in the car. Okay, so just before we start, a disclaimer. There are certain channels, you know, certain booktubers that are actually my friends we're quite close. So, you know those channels that I'm always mentioning in my videos, like Kat from Brews and Reviews, Victoria from What Victoria Read, Nicole from A Beautiful Chaos of Books. I'm not gonna mention these girls. I'm not gonna cast any of my close friends on any of this because I feel like I talk about these girls too much. So we're gonna try and branch out into other booktube channels. But yes, yeah, I just wanted to give you a little disclaimer so you wouldn't think it was weird that I wasn't casting any of my friends. But yeah, I'm just trying to, you know, bring a bit of diversity into my channel instead of, you know, always mentioning the same people over and over again. But yeah, if I don't mention you, please don't be upset. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, the first book I'm gonna start with is The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. Now, this is one of my favorite series because that's basically what got me back into reading. I liked reading as a child, you know, as a very young child. I don't remember it, but my parents say I used to like reading, so, you know, I'm gonna believe them because I don't remember anything that happened to me before the age of 9. So I'm just gonna have to believe their word. I'm gonna take their word for it. But yeah, I used to like reading as a child, and then I stopped reading for a while because, you know, school books are just not fun. At least the ones I was assigned weren't fun at all. So anyway, this series got me back into reading as a teenager, and I loved this series. Princess Mia. Ugh. Now, the person I'm gonna cast as Princess Mia Thermopolis, Princess of Genovia, is Isabella from Throne of Pages. Is that right? Throne of Pages. I'm really bad with channel names, as I am with names, as you know. Anyway, Isabella, I think that she is funny without trying to be funny, if you know what I mean. It's that kind of personality. A little bit clumsy, you know. She'll you know, do stuff in her vlogs. It will make me laugh so much. And, you know, it's that kind of clumsy that makes a person likable. You know, that's what we get from Mia Thermopolis, and that's the kind of vibe I get from Isabella from Throne of Pages. So we have our first casting. Now, if you disagree with any of my castings, please let me know down below. in a respectful manner, please. No bashing people, you know, or book characters. Anyway, yeah. Isabella as Mir Thermopolis. Yeah. I have to reread this series. I really do. It's so good. I have to reread this. I watched this video recently, this vlog by Emma at Drinking by My Shelf recently, where she reread the whole series in 24 hours with her sister, and it was hilarious. It was brilliant vlog. You have to go and watch it. I'm gonna link it down below anyway. Okay, then I'm gonna go with another middle grade. Well, Princess Diaries isn't exactly middle grade, but we're going with a middle grade now, and it is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. Now, there's the main character in this book is Mog, as you can see here, an 11-year-old girl. Now, because I don't really know any 11-year-old booktubers, I'm gonna stay away from the main character. I'm gonna stay away from Mog. We're gonna focus on Jupiter North, okay? He's a brilliant character. Oh my goodness. That guy is so much fun. He's so funny, but at the same time, you kind of feel safe with him. It's a kind of vibe that I get anyway, and he is very protective of Mog and very intelligent man in his own quirky way. It's funny and quirky. That's how I would describe Jupiter North. I always get confused, is it Jupiter North or Jupiter South? But it's actually Jupiter North. And for that role, I'm gonna cast Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin because he's just hilarious. He has just completed his first year on Booktube, and his Q&A is just so funny. It's so much fun. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. So yeah, Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin as Jupiter North because he's such a fun character, and Gavin is such a fun booktuber to watch. He is, you know, even if he's not feeling quite well, he will still make you laugh, and he's such an uplifting guy. Yeah, Gavin, Jupiter North. That's my casting. Yeah, if you disagree, let me know who you would cast as Jupiter North. I'm going with one of my favorite series, okay? All these books are on my top list, okay? They're either my favorite series or my favorite books. And this one is part of my favorite series. This is Cress. It's part of the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. And Cress, poor thing, she has been in isolation, floating around in space in her little rocket or satellite. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a satellite. And she has been by herself for around 7 years. Now, I've been in isolation. Not really isolation because I have my mom and dad with me. So 3 of us. Not as hard as this situation here. And I've only been in the house for about 5 or 6 weeks. Cress was on a ship for 7 years by herself, only occasionally getting supplies from someone else, but yeah, no real contact. And I think the way Cress was written, she's such a good character. She seems very timid at first and very insecure and fragile, but this girl has such inner strength, and her personality really shines through on this book and the following book, you know, and the rest of the series. I love Chris so much. I do. I think she's one of my favorite characters in the series, and for this special little nugget here, I'm going to cast Mary from Mary Among Stories because her vlogs are so relaxing and so, you know, low-key. But you can tell that girl is really strong, you know. I wouldn't say she is, you know, as aloof as Cress is sometimes. Like, you know, that's not what I'm getting at. But, you know, that loveliness that sensibility that you get in Cress, I see that in Mary. And I mean that in the best way possible. I love Mary so much. Mary from Mary Monk Stories and Gress. So good. And yeah, I'm gonna cast Mary. Oi! Tô gravando no carro. Eu não aguento mais meu quarto, não tem espaço no quarto. Okay, now, for our fantasy lovers out there, we have a new favorite of mine. My favorite fantasy trilogy of all time now. The Final Empire, not the Final Empire. Mistborn Trilogy, that's what it's called. The Mistborn Trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, and oh my goodness, such an amazing cast of characters in this. I will spoil it for choice, really. You have Kelsier, who's a criminal mastermind, he's amazing. You have Vin, who grew up on the streets, you know, being abused, and then, you know, it turns out she has all these powers within her. And I went with Vin because she's one of my favorite characters in this trilogy, and she grows so much throughout the story, and I feel like she's a natural born leader, but she doesn't quite know the power that she has. You know, people will follow her eventually, you know, even though she doesn't believe it herself. She is a leader, and for that character, I would pick G from Book Roast. Now, you might disagree with me on this one, but I see G as a very, you know, down-to-earth person. She is lovely, she's amazing, but you can tell she's a very strong person as well at the same time. In her vlogs especially, you can see how vulnerable she is. You know, she talks about mental health and all that, and you can see how vulnerable she is, but to make yourself vulnerable like that on the internet in front of thousands of people, you have to have a really strong emotional health, if you know what I mean. You have to be mentally strong to be able to do that, and I think G is a born leader, even though she doesn't know it yet. Anything she says goes. I think that's why her magical readathon is such a big success. It's not just because it's from Harry Potter. Anyone could make a readathon based on Harry Potter, but because it's G that's leading it, and she will just dive right into it. She'll give it her all. That girl is amazing. Also, Vin came from somewhere else. She came from nothing, basically. She came from the streets, and she became this massive power within the Empire. I think I see that in G as well. G is one of those people who doesn't even need a surname, you know. You know, those celebrities that, like Madonna, like, you don't even need an introduction. It's G. She doesn't even name, she has a letter. Everyone on BookTube knows who G is. It's just a letter, and you instantly know who we're talking about. G is amazing. So yes, G, I admire her so much. So much. Girl, you're amazing. If you ever happen to watch this video, just know you're amazing. I really admire you. Okay. Let me see. Okay, then we have Daisy Jones and the Six, a new favorite of mine, by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I really like her writing style. It's very fun, and you feel like the characters are real people. Like, I actually had to Google Daisy Jones and the Six to know if it was made up or if it was an actual band from the 70s. So yes, Daisy Jones and the Six. Now, I was going to focus on the male main character, but because he's such a pain sometimes, and I didn't want to offend anyone, I went with Daisy Jones instead. Daisy Jones is very confident. She's naturally beautiful. She will turn heads wherever she goes. And yeah, it's such an effortless kind of beauty that, you know, she draws people in without even trying. And for that one, I cast a newfound booktuber of mine. I didn't really know her before, I don't know, March. So it is Grace with books. Grace is such a naturally beautiful person, and she's so confident that whatever she says, people will follow her. That's the kind of vibe I get from her videos. I just watched one of her last videos where she's making TikTok videos for the first time, and it's hilarious. It's so much fun. So yeah, that kind of, you know, I do what I want, I do me, and who cares if people are gonna like it or not. That's the kind of vibe I get from Grace, and she's so naturally beautiful as well. Like, yeah, Daisy Jones. I think Grace with books as Daisy Jones. For this last one, we have Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I really wanted to cast someone as Aiden, because that's my favorite character in this book. If you haven't read this book yet, there's no spoilers, don't worry. Aiden is an unstable AI, okay? It will make difficult decisions. People would struggle to see the logic in Aiden's decisions, but his decisions are very logic. He will, I say he, because, you know, Aiden is usually a male name, but Aiden is just a machine, it's a program, so it's it, really. But Aiden will tell you how it is, you know, without trying to hurt your feelings, but he will be quite controversial sometimes, you know. It's not that it's trying to hurt your feelings, but, you know, it happens sometimes, and you just get on with life because that's the truth and that's what we're talking about. Now, for that one, I had to ask on Twitter, because I thought that was a tricky character to cast, and I didn't really know who would be a good fit for this character. So I'm gonna ask you to help me cast Aiden, okay? Somebody on BookTube who's not afraid to speak their mind. In my mind, I'm gonna think Zoe from You're a Book Nerd, Zoe. I think that's her channel name. She just had a baby, and she is amazing, she's lovely, but she's not afraid to speak her mind, you know, which is amazing. It's like, I really admire that about her. And yeah, in my mind, I'm gonna cast Zoe as Aiden, because she will tell it how it is, and that's that. But who would you cast as Aiden on BookTube? I want to know. I'm interested. I'm very curious to see who people would cast as Aiden, an AI who's not afraid to, you know, hurt people's feelings because it's a program. Okay, now my final question for you, what I really want to know is, who would you cast me as? It was one of my questions for the Q&A, like, who would you like to play in, you know, a book adaptation, and I wasn't really sure. But yes, who would you cast me as? It could be from any book, really. Classic, YA, middle grade, fantasy, I don't really mind. So who do you think I would be able to play in a book adaptation? That would be an interesting an interesting question, I think. Don't be scared, don't be afraid of hurting my feelings, just go for it. Chances are I won't even know who those book characters are because I haven't read all of the books yet, but you know, we're just gonna go with it. So yes, those were my favorite books or series cast as booktubers. So that's it. If you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a like, subscribe, click the bell, and leave a comment. Who would you cast me as in your book characters? Does that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.